Welcome to my December reading wrap-up. So in December 2023, I read 12 books. Let's get started with those. So the first book that I read was Jane in Search of a Job. So this is a short story by Agatha Christie, and I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I read this in an audiobook format, and the book is about Jane, who is clever and intelligent and beautiful, but she needs a job, and so she searches for jobs, and then she finds a job in a newspaper. It's a job advertisement, and it's about they want someone to act as a duchess, and then she applies for the job, she gets selected, and but then she finds out that it's a scam. So that's what this book is about. It's a really nice read, and it has a very few pages. I think I'm just searching how many pages it has. So okay, that's not available here, but it's a really nice book. And the next book that I read was The Visit by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. So I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and I read it using my Kindle. It's available on Amazon Prime Reading, and the book is about gender role reversal. So this book is set in the future where women hold most of the important positions in the government and everywhere else, like in they are the doctors, and they are the teachers and the professors and the authors and the presidents. All important positions are held by women, and when a woman gives birth, that is actually a very big celebration. She is awarded and applauded for it, and men are the people who are like the minorities in the society. They don't have huge jobs, they have like lowly occupations, and they are the house husbands. So it was actually a very unique book, and it had a very unique perspective. I really enjoyed reading it. And the next book is The Little Red Hen. So I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and it's a really short book. It's just 32 pages long, and it is about hen who wants the help of the barnyard animals to like harvest the wheat and make the bread, but then they don't want to help during that time, but they want to eat the bread. But then she becomes assertive and she does not let them eat the bread. So that's what this book is about, and I read this on Audible. And the next book that I read was The Lost Decade by F. Scott Fitzgerald. So I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and this book is about a man who lost a decade of his life somehow, and that's what this book is about. And I read this in an audiobook format. And the next book that I read was We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. So this book actually I read in a physical book format. So this is the book We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. It's a really small book, as you can see. It has just very few pages, but it's actually a really impactful read. If you have any wrong notions about feminism, it will clear all those out. In this book, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie addresses her own experiences with gender inequality, and it's a really insightful book. It gives you a perspective into the mind of women of color, and I actually really enjoyed reading this book, and it cleared up some of the wrong notions which I had about feminism. And actually this is my second time reading this book. I don't know if I mentioned it. The first time I read it was in 2016 or 17, I think, and yeah, I think this is a book which everybody should read. So the next book that I read was Tigers for Dinner by Ruskin. So this book is about Mahmoud, who is the chef of Ruskin when Ruskin is a kid, and Mahmoud tells Ruskin about a lot of stories which Mahmoud had experienced, like the things which happened to Mahmoud when Mahmoud worked as the chef of Jim Corbett when Jim Corbett was in India. And Jim Corbett was a tiger hunter, so he killed the tigers who were man-eaters. And so when Mahmoud was the chef of Jim Corbett, he had various adventures with various animals because he lived near the forest or in the forest when he was Jim Corbett's chef. So there were incidences with pythons and crocodiles and tigers, and so the book is really interesting and unique. And the next book that and this book actually it's there on Audible in the Audible Plus catalog, and I read it through that, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and it's really short. It's just 65 pages long. And the next book that I read is The Hen Who Dreamed She Could Fly by Hwang. So this book is actually very unique, and it is a children's book, I think, because all the animals in the book can talk, and the book is written from the perspective of animals. So it gave me the vibes of Animal Farm by George Orwell, and Charlotte's Web by E.B. White, and Black Beauty by Anna Sewell, because those books are also written from the perspective of animals, or they are written about animals and animals can talk. And so this book was actually very similar to Black Beauty, I think, because Black Beauty is like an autobiography of a horse, And this book, The Hen Who Dreamed She Could Fly, was like an autobiography of a hen, and it actually taught very important values like sacrifice as well. Towards the end, it was a really sad ending, but I still like the book. I usually don't like books with sad endings, but this book I really liked it, even though it had a sad ending. And I gave the book a 4 out of 5 stars, and I think it is a must-read book. And the next book that I read is The Blue Umbrella by Ruskin. So this book I heard on Audible, and it has only 83 pages, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And this book is about a girl called Binya who lives in a small town, and one day while she's roaming about in her town, she sees a group of travelers, and in the group of travelers there's a woman who has a blue umbrella which Binya likes, and even that woman likes something which Binya is wearing. I think it's a kind of a chain or a locket, and then that woman wants the chain or the locket, and Binya wants the umbrella, so they exchange. And then Binya goes to her village with the umbrella, and everybody envies her, but there's one particular person who envies her the most because of the umbrella, and he tries to take it a lot of times using different methods, but he fails. But what happens next is what the book is about. It's actually a really interesting book, and I didn't mention, I don't know if I mentioned, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And the next book that I read is Santaland, Diaries by Sedaris. So this book is 138 pages long. I read it in an audiobook format, and I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars on Goodreads because I did not particularly enjoyed it. In fact, when I was reading the part 3 of the book, I slept thrice. So I tried to read the part 3 of the book 3 times. The first time I read it, I slept. The second time I read it, I slept. The third time I was like, okay, no way, I'm sleeping. So the third time is when I actually finished it. So I think why I did not like it is because it was really boring. I think it didn't have much of a plot or anything. It was just about the experiences of a man who works in Santaland as an elf, and he writes about his frustrations working there because he's, I think, more than 30 years old, and he's still having this menial job, and he doesn't like that, and he doesn't like some of his colleagues, he doesn't like some of his customers. So it was just like a rant, a big rant. So I just did not like that book that much, but I would still recommend it to you if you want to read a short Christmas book, because that's what I wanted to do. That's why I read it, because I wanted to read a short Christmas book. So the next book that I read was Once Upon a Christmas Carol by Schaler. So I rated this book a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and this book is available on Audible. I read it to the Audible Plus catalog, and I think I enjoyed the book a little bit. The main reason I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars is because I felt that the reading was too dramatic. So in Audible, the reading of the book, right, it was just too dramatic. I just felt that especially the main character, right, her reading was done very dramatically. It just felt very cringy to me. So the book is about the main character, a woman who loses her job, and she receives a Christmas card from her hometown. So she thinks it's her dad or someone, so she goes back to her town for Christmas, even though she hasn't done that in quite a few years, because after her mom died, it was difficult for her to celebrate Christmas at home. So she always celebrated Christmas with her dad on a vacation somewhere. But this time she goes back to her town, and she finds her ex-boyfriend, and now he has a daughter, and so she rekindles his relationship with her ex-boyfriend, and she also tries to befriend the daughter, and they have a nice bond. And that's what the book is about, how she celebrates Christmas in her hometown, and how she receives many Christmas cards after the initial one, which each Christmas card gives her a clue to the next Christmas card, and each card has a carol. So it's actually a really nice book, I think. And the next book that I read was Under One Roof by Ali Hazelwood. So I read that book in a paperback format, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and it is 112 pages long. So let me show you the book. Yeah, so this is the book Loathe to Love You, and this book has the 3 Feminist novellas, Under One Roof, Below Zero, and Stuck With You. So I finished this one, Under One Roof, which was, as I said, 112 pages long. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and this book is about Mara, who is an environmental engineer, and she actually inherits half of a house, which was she inherits it from her PhD supervisor. So she goes to live in that house because it's really near to her job, which she's starting, and after completing her PhD. But then she has to share the house with her PhD supervisor's nephew. So half of the house belongs to him, and initially they don't like each other, they hate each other, and that's why the book's name is Loath to Love You, because initially the people are hating each other and then they are falling in love. So each of these stories has that element to it, and Sumara and this guy William, they hate each other, but then they kind of have a soft spot for each other after that, and then they fall in love, and that's what this book is about. It's actually a really nice book, and the next novella is which I read in December was Stuck With You. This is also by Ali Hazelwood. This is 127 pages long. I gave this one also 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and this book is about two people. One of them is Sadie, who is whose perspective the story is written from. So she is a civil engineer, I think, and yeah, she's a civil engineer. So she works in a firm where she does this environmentally friendly buildings. So that's what they construct, environmentally friendly buildings. So she gives pitches for that, and then she goes and does the projects, and then she meets Eric one day on her way to give a sales pitch, and he is actually the founder and owner of another civil engineering company, which is Pro Build. So then they actually hit it off really well when they meet, and but then she thinks that he tried to take information out of her, and that's why he went out with her. So it's actually a really big misunderstanding between them, and so she hates him for a long time until she gets stuck with him in an elevator for around 1 hour, and that's when their misunderstandings are solved because they have nothing to do but talk to each other. And so until that time she was actually ignoring him, but then they talk, and then their misunderstanding is something which gets dissolved during the time they are stuck in the elevator. That's why the book's name is Stuck With You, because they're stuck in the elevator. And even this book's name is Under One Roof because they are living under one roof. So Below Zero, this book I started reading, but I haven't completed it yet, so I think you'll see it in my January reading wrap up. So those were the 12 books which I read in December, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Let me know down below in the comments what are the books which you read in December, which were your favorite books, and what are the books you're planning to read in January.